Welcome to the show. I'm Doug Johnson, and this is The Business of Life. During each show, we meet with a local personality, some of whom really don't like to be called personalities, but we'll call them that anyway. And these folks are willing to share with us 3 strategies for their life success. There are some really interesting backstories. And one of these people joining us today, Steve Radcliff, and I go way back. Interestingly, Steve was in the corporate world while I knew him before, and then he became an entrepreneur, started something called Gitter Picker String Factory, went back to the corporate world, and now is doing what he loves, music. So Steve, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me.
It's great to have you here.
It's good to connect with you again. It's been a long time.
It has been. It has been. Fortunately, the Twinsburg Library had a concert, and you were the star. And as I told you then, your music has always been good, and you have just become amazing. We'll hear a little of that later. And this is the first show, by the way, during which we've had real live music.
Oh, boy.
So you're a first. So anyway, you are retired. And so most of us think of retirement as a time to slow down.
Yeah.
And in fact, it seems that you have accelerated your pace.
Done the opposite, right?
You have really taken music to a new level. You're doing vocals, you're arranging music, you're writing some of your own music, you are a studio musician, you're performing at weddings as background music in restaurants. Mm-hmm. I'm tired just going through all of that stuff. So tell us how you got started with music. I mean, obviously, that's your real love.
Yeah.
You know, did you play guitar as a child or when you were growing up?
Oh, yeah, yeah. So growing up, and you know, I just remember as a kid, I loved the sound of the guitar. And I had one. My parents got me one probably when I was in kindergarten, and I remember I would just sit on the floor and just hit the strings because I didn't know how to play. They put me into lessons. I was probably 5 years old. I was probably too young to do it, so I didn't stick with it. But way back then, Roy Clark was real popular, and he had a TV commercial where he was selling the Roy Clark Big Note Guitar Songbook, which is going to teach me to play like Roy Clark. You know? So I'm like, Mom, I want that book. You know, can I get that? She's like, No, let's put you into lessons. So here I was, a paper boy, and she put me into the lessons, started paying for it. But then, as I was making money as a paper boy, I started paying for my own lessons, and I stuck with that for, a year, let's say. But I was probably 12, something like that. And then, like most guitar players, they put a sheet of music in front of me, and they're like, well, okay, you're going to learn how to do that. I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, I want to learn to play Stairway to Heaven. That's all I want to know, And so I did about a year of lessons, and then the rest of it was like everybody else. We learn from each other. You get friends who play guitar, and you go hang out after school on the weekends, and then little bands would form. So I did that, through high school, and I kind of walked away, or I just got busy with life, and then when I was about 25, I happened to see a guitar player in a band down in Columbus that was doing a Chet Atkins style, just him and his guitar up there. He didn't even sing, and I'm like, wow, I want to learn to do that. So that literally, I went to that guy, and I said, do you teach guitar? And he's like, sure I do. And he came to my house, and that really just kind of kicked me off at the age of 25 of just playing music. But there were no dreams to do anything more with music. I was working a day job, working in corporate and everything. But I just had this hobby, which was making music, and I wasn't even writing songs or anything like that. It was just more of just learning how to play like my heroes did. Yep.
So, Chet Atkins style, a question I have to ask you.
Okay.
Did you ever learn how to play Stairway to Heaven?
Oh, of course. Absolutely. In fact, there was a period of time that's all I knew how to play. So yeah, you bet I learned that song, and then later on, what happened is, in I would say the 80s, when I was in high school, music really started to change, became more keyboard focused, and I just lost interest in the rock music, and I started to hear these country players, and I'm like, wow, that is amazing that they can play with their fingers and with a thumb pick and all of that, and that's that probably in high school I started just going more toward that country sound, and I would sit for hours in my bedroom and just play the guitar instead of studying. I didn't. School was not my favorite place to be, and so go up to my bedroom to study and be like, oh, there's my guitar, and I pick it up and just start playing. So it's just something I love to do. That's really all. Never said, oh, I'm going to make a career out of music in any way. Never. That's never even being in a band. I wasn't in my first band, Post Road, until I was 45. So it's just been a slow.
Well, and Post
progress.
Road has become, in Northeast Ohio, a huge success. I mean, if you mention Post Road to somebody, immediately they know what you're talking about.
Yeah, most people seem to know who we are, and it's funny because it's kind of on the east side, because we don't play as much on the west side, but it's just a pockets
river
of area.
Gets in the way.
Yeah, it gets in the way. Yeah, and it's a long drive over there. So, but we've been so fortunate. My daughter's in the band with me as well, but we've just had success. Yeah, it's local success, mind you, but it's bigger success than I ever imagined I would have, with music. So I'm happy, very happy with it.
Well, and the question is, happier now doing music than you ever were in the corporate world?
Oh, absolutely. Now, I don't make anywhere close to the money, and but yeah, what I never realized. So when I would be working a day job, I would come home and I would pick up this guitar, and it was I guess my stress relief, whatever, but it was just constantly on my lap, and I would be at work doing something, going, I'm wasting my time here. Mind you, I'm making a great salary, but I'm wasting my time because I could be practicing, and to this day, that is something that I guess haunts me, and that I don't know why. Again, I have no aspirations. I never wanted to be I want to be a star. I never even thought that way. I was like, I'm going to work a job, but I want to be the best I can be, on an instrument, and that it in some ways I felt like that interfered with my ability to focus on my job, because I just kept thinking, and I suppose was that called OCD? It might be,
right. Right.
You might be diagnosing me here right now.
I'm taking a note here, Steve. Well, really, this might be a good time for you to show us what you got.
What I've got on the guitar, then. So, yeah.
I know you sing while you play.
I sing. Yeah, and I will say singing is not my strong point, and unfortunately, because maybe then I may have had aspirations to to actually do some kind of a career in music, but I always felt like I just don't have a voice, that is front man voice type of thing, So, but I do what I can to get by, and I suppose in a way that really does drive me, because when I'm up there in front of a group of people, I'm like, well, I gotta be good up here. I've never been able to take my voice much further. I've had some singing lessons and all that, but it's the guitar where I'm going, well, I'll overshadow my voice and try to make and do something amazing, on the guitar then. So, and that's which I suppose that's kind of what's been driving that for me. Then.
So what are we going to hear?
So I will do my version, I guess my arrangement of "Come On, Eileen." So this song, I've been wanting to do this for, I mean, literally for decades, but I couldn't do it. I didn't have the skill, to play it or to come up with an arrangement of it. But at the end of 2021, I resigned from my corporate job, and I just said, I'm just going to make money being a musician. And it's amazing how you can improve when you practice all day long. So it really, yeah, and I have the opportunity. I mean, that's literally it. I just happen to have the opportunity, and I'll get up in the morning, and I probably 3 to 4 hours will practice, just practice the guitar, to go out and play for drunk people in a bar. So, but I still love it. But yeah, so this one, what I just a little bit about how I approach the song here is that I can't possibly bring the energy with just me and this guitar that you hear on the record, Dexy's Midnight Runner, who did it. So I've got my challenge is always to figure out a way to arrange the song, and maybe on spots where the record goes louder, I'm gonna go lower. I gotta do just the exact opposite, because I can't bring that loud volume and that big energy to the song, but I got to find a way to, it's almost like I'm interpreting the song my own way and kind of finding my areas where I'm going to put energy here, so I'm going to soften it back here so people hear that difference, coming at them. So this one is what I would call kind of a Chet Atkins approach, how he might or Jerry Reed might have done it then. So. Let's see. The little intro there.
Sat upon his radio, so he broke a million hearts in mine. Pop brothers cry, singing on who blame them. You've grown up, so grown up now, I must say more than ever. We sing just like our father. Everything to me, with you in that dress, my thoughts I confess, verge on dirty. Come on, Eileen.
All right, a little half of the song then. So
That picking just amazes me.
yeah, and that when I started as a kid, that's exactly how I was. I'm like, that is amazing. How can you make each finger do? Almost like it's almost like it has to think on itself. And people ask now, and it's hard to describe it. Any guitar player who is doing anything, playing any style, there's a point where it's just kind of natural, and that's me. With this thumb pick, this is something that Chet Atkins and Jerry Reed did. And I never
Your heroes.
My heroes. So I just decided, and this was back like maybe in 2007 or 8, somewhere around then. I'm like, I'm going to start playing with a thumb pick. And I put it on, and I'd play, and it'd be flopping all over. I couldn't hold it, but I just made up my mind. I said, I'm not going to touch this guitar without a thumb pick on. And now I'm to the point where if I had to pull out just one of those flat strumming picks, ain't happening. It falls out of my hand. I have to have my thumb pick now. It's electric guitar, acoustic guitar, doesn't matter. So
Jeez.
yeah. So but it's neat to watch, and I watch guitar players on YouTube all day long that just amaze me. I'm just blown away by it, and I keep thinking, well, man, I've been at this for 40 years. At some point, surely I know it all, but no, it's amazing. There's amazing players out there then. So,
Well, I mean, just watching your fingers just amazed me, and the sound, obviously. And so you also have written some songs, and one of them in particular we've talked about, and I don't know if you want to walk us into that one or talk us into that one.
Talk to you about that one too. Yeah. So, and this is a probably gonna make a bunch of noise here, but this one's kind of a surprise for me. It wasn't my idea, the premise of the song, and a friend of mine named Scotty McWhinney I think he contacted the Sean Rowland, the singer of the band for Post Road, said, "Hey, I've got this song idea. I want you guys to write a song about." I was like, "Oh yeah, just write a song, okay." Yeah. So he said, "OH." I think he had it as the whole play on OHIO. It was OHIO. He's like, I owe you one. I think was the term that he used in there. He said, "Can you write a song about OHIO one?" Well, he had just moved to like Phoenix and was missing Ohio. And I'm like, "Man, that's a great idea." I said, let me see what I can do with that. And fortunately for me, I too, when I was in my 20s, lived in Boston for a couple years. And I knew that feeling of moving away from home, leaving all your family and friends and going to an area that you don't know. I didn't know a soul. So I understood it. So that's where he gave me some lyric ideas that he wanted, and he said, see what you can do with that song. So that's here's what I came up with. Would you like me to play that now?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. All right. And in fact, I'll say it's a work in progress. I don't really have an intro. A good song needs a good intro, and the melody of the song is generally what I would run it off of. But the melody's not I guess what I would call a memorable, strong melody to the song. But well, I'll let you be the judge of that one. But this is called "OH, I Owe You a Beer." All right.
I never thought there'd come a time that I'd have to say goodbye. I guess moving on is just a part of life. I look around one last time, I take a breath, I close my eyes. Once I'm on the road, I'm sure it's gonna be alright. You gave me your best days, you gave me your best nights. You gave me bonfire friends and Friday football lights. You were there for the good times, and you got me through my worst. I don't get to call you home anymore, but you'll always be my first. And I promise, if I ever make it back here, OH, I owe you a beer. Boy that I was, 17, forever young, that's a part of me that'll never move on. But the man that I've become has got a job that must get done. That's the part of life that ain't always fun. You gave me your best days, you gave me your best nights. You gave me bonfire friends and Friday football lights. You were there for the good times, and you got me through my worst. I don't get to call you home anymore, but you'll always be my first. And I promise, if I ever make it back here, OH, I owe you a beer.
Really cool.
Well, thank you.
I just think it's really neat the way that you have taken your personal experience and kind of added it to Scotty McWhinney's experience.
Right.
Combine the two. and use something that we're all familiar with
Yeah.
in a little different vein.
Yeah.
And that's really, I think, for all of us who have moved away, what an appropriate song.
Yeah, and that's it. Like, at least when I write song, and I think any songwriting teacher or something would tell you, you got to make your songs relate so that anybody can step into them. You can't make them too personal, and but I think just the topic there in itself, that was low-hanging fruit to be able to to just like, oh, I remember all the feelings I had. So I'm not the only one who must have had been homesick and everything. So,
yeah. I know I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Okay. Uh-oh.
Can you do just a couple of bars even of Stairway to Heaven? That's one of my favorite. And if you can't, that's fine. But
I can do that. I can't sing it because Robert Plant, with that voice that he's got, it's just not possible. But
there we go.
Let's see. There's the answer. To it there.
I love it. I love it. Steve, that is so great. And as I told you before, you were always good, but now you're just turning that corner into amazing.
Well, thank you.
I mean,
thank you. And that really is. It is. You just have to have the opportunity to practice. And I think the other key thing is you got to know what to practice. So when I approach it, any song that I do, when I play live, I don't have music or a lot of people use an iPad, which is great, but I want to memorize every song because I feel like I can put myself more into the song. But I think it just forces me to get very creative in the arrangements. So I really spend a lot of time arranging the song, even though I know what the chords and the melody and all that is, but it's how I'm going to approach it on the guitar, because there's always got to be a little bit of a moving bass line on top of the chords that that are hearing, and then it's got to match up with what I'm singing. So it's very time consuming to work. It takes weeks to get a song ready to be able to play it out then. So, but I have the time.
Obviously, you are being very successful. And speaking of success,
okay,
we should talk about 3 strategies for success. And when you and I talked, I really like this. The first one that you came up with was to be flexible in your definition of success.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Can you tell us a little more about that?
Yeah, because it really has always, for me, been a moving target. In working in corporate. So I started my career was in like telecommunications. The industry's gone. It just doesn't exist. Phone system and I mean call centers are still there, but it's voice over IP. But I was very driven at the time because I felt like I could come in. I had a skill set, in technology that I could fix things, when they were broken, and I would feel successful. But then, that was all before the days of IP, and I was working on specific, technology with phone systems and data communications, and then I was like, yeah, I got pretty good at this. And then all of a sudden, nobody's using that technology anymore. And I'm like, I guess I'm going to have to retool, myself and all of that. So there, I don't know. I just didn't love it anymore. And that would have been early on, in the 90s when all of that really started to change quite a bit. And so I really kind of had to redefine success. So I was like, well, maybe I'll go into project management. Yeah, and get away so much, because I worked around the clock. I mean, there were jobs, like when I lived in Boston, I literally worked 7 days a week, 20 some hours a day, and it's not exaggerating. That was back in the days of pagers, you know, and
right.
that pager went off every night because the systems that I owned would stop working every night, you know. So it, but even there, I was successful, you know, at what I was doing there, but it was something I did not want to be doing, you know, and so I've had to just kind of keep retooling. You know, I opened Getter Picker because I was looking for my escape, and even there, I felt like it was successful. I just couldn't make a good living off of it. I could not replace the corporate salary there, you know, and then went back into corporate then.
So your model for success keeps changing, which is great for everybody. Your second strategy is to have a supportive partner.
Oh yeah. And that probably for me, you know, anybody sitting here listening going, wow, this guy's making a living playing music. No, I'm not. No. I'm making money at making music, but you know, my wife, what we discovered, you know, when I got during the financial crisis of '08, I was working in banking, got laid off, and then my wife ended up getting a job with Edward Jones. Well, lo and behold, she found her calling, loves her job. She would come home from work and tell me about a great day that she had. I helped this customer do, you know, the plan for retirement, and me, I'm going, oh, I drove a spreadsheet today and I got yelled at because one of my formulas was off.
Right.
So, but yeah, having somebody like her who she's very supportive of what I'm doing here, and she was like, get out of that stress, go do what you want to do, just stay busy. Yeah. That's really been her criteria. Just this whole week, I have a buddy who has a lawn business. I was down spraying, doing insecticide around the foundation of homes. I'm like, what? Call me. What do you got? You need some work? I'll help you out. You know?
Yep.
So
neat. The third one is don't be afraid to try different things.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's probably the bit, you know, another one that, you know, Getter Picker was just a whim. You know, when I opened that, I was like, I want to have my own business. So I tried it, you know, and even the fact that working in the corporate world, you know, I came out of high school, worked in a call center for Red Roof Inns, and because I never called in sick, and I took every opportunity. I got promoted to do a job where I would pull sheets of paper off of a printer and massage the data on this thing called a PC. This was in the 80s, you know?
Yep.
And it just led to the career path to me being a project manager in banking and everything. So, and yeah, I've never been afraid. I've never said, oh, I didn't go to college, I can't possibly work in corporate. It never even crossed my mind.
Right.
But it's just, yeah.
Well, there you go. And now you're doing what really makes you happy.
Yeah, because I can. I'm in a position. My wife loves her job. I can do it now, whereas before I had a family to support. You know? So I had to put the kind of the dreams of making a living, you know, playing music, that had to be on hold. It just the timing wasn't right for that then.
Well, Steve, the timing is right now. Thank you so much for being
thank you
here
for having
today.
me. Yeah.
It has been just a joy, not only to reconnect, but to hear you play some more.
Up close and personal. There you go.
Onward and upward.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thanks, Steve.